I watched him drowning right there in his penthouse, not in water, but in something darker. A billionaire with everything, but nothing left inside. I was just the woman who cleaned his office. But that night, I became the only thing standing between him and the edge. Before we dive into this story, do me a favor. Hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. Because what I'm about to tell you, it's raw, it's real, and it might just change how you see love. Trust me, you don't want to miss where this goes. Now, let me take you back to where it all started. My name is Nia Thompson, and 3 years ago, I was invisible. You know that kind of invisible? Where people look right through you because of what you do, not who you are? I cleaned offices at Sterling Tower downtown, evening shift, 9 p.m. to 5 a.m. By day, I waited tables at Murphy's Diner on 5th. 2 jobs, 1 mission, keep a roof over my head and my son Caleb's head. He was 6 then, all gap-toothed smiles and questions I was too tired to answer. I had dreams once, college dreams, business dreams. But life has a way of rearranging your plans when you're young and black and broke in a city that costs too much to breathe in. So I pushed a vacuum and I smiled at customers, and I told myself that keeping my boy fed and safe was dream enough. Sterling Tower was all glass and marble and the kind of silence that money buys. 47 floors of tech company success, and I cleaned 30 of them. The executive floor was always last. That's where I first saw him, William Sterling, the man whose name was on the building, the man whose face was on magazine covers, the billionaire who had everything. Except he didn't look like he had anything at all. It was a Tuesday, almost midnight. I was pushing my cart past his office when I noticed the lights still on. That wasn't unusual. Executives worked late, but something made me look closer. He was just sitting there at his desk, staring at nothing, not working, not on his phone, just staring like he'd forgotten how to move. I almost kept walking. That's what you do when you're invisible, right? You don't interrupt important people's important moments. But something in the way he sat there, so perfectly still, so perfectly alone, it bothered me. So I knocked. Soft. He didn't move. I knocked again. "You need me to come back later," I called through the glass. He looked up then, and I swear I've never seen eyes that empty, like someone had scooped out everything that made him human and left just the shell. He shook his head and waved me in. I started cleaning, trying not to stare, but I kept watching him in the reflection of the windows. He hadn't moved, hadn't blinked much either. "You eaten today?" I don't know why I asked. It just came out. He looked at me like I'd spoken another language. "What?" "Food. You eaten?" I said it again, simpler. I don't remember." His voice was rough, like he hadn't used it in days. I had a sandwich in my bag. Turkey and cheese, nothing fancy. I'd made it for my break, but I wasn't that hungry anyway. I put it on his desk. "Eat that. You look like you're gonna pass out." He stared at that sandwich like it was a puzzle he couldn't solve. But after I went back to vacuuming, I saw him pick it up. Saw him take a bite, then another. When I left that night, the sandwich was gone and he was still sitting there, but something in his face had shifted. Just a little. Just enough. That became our routine. 3 nights a week, maybe 4, he'd be there late. I'd bring extra food from home. We'd talk. Small stuff at first. Weather, how bad downtown traffic was, whether the coffee in the break room was trying to kill us. He never asked why a cleaning lady was being nice to him. I never asked why a billionaire was falling apart in his office every night. But I noticed things. The way his hands shook sometimes. The dark circles that got darker. The way he'd stare at this photo on his desk. Him and another man, younger, laughing on a boat somewhere sunny. One night I asked about it. "That's my brother," he said. "Tyler was my brother." Was. That one word explained everything. "When?" I asked. 6 months ago. He jumped off the Golden Gate Bridge. William said it flat, like if he didn't put emotion in the words, they couldn't hurt him. Didn't work, though. I could see the hurt bleeding through anyway. I didn't say I'm sorry. People had probably said that to him 1,000 times. Instead, I said, "You blame yourself." He looked at me then, really looked at me and nodded. I was too busy, too focused on this company, on deals and money and things that don't matter. He called me the week before. I sent it to voicemail. I was in a meeting. His voice cracked. I was in a meeting. We sat in that silence for a while. Not uncomfortable, just real. "I got a cousin who died the same way," I finally said. LaShawn. He was 23. Everybody kept asking what they missed, what they should have seen. But depression doesn't send a memo, you know. It doesn't wait for you to be ready. "Does the guilt ever stop?" he asked. "No," I told him, because lies don't help nobody. "But you learn to carry it different. You learn that surviving isn't betraying them." Something changed between us that night. We became real to each other. Not billionaire and cleaning lady. Just two people carrying heavy things, trying not to fall down. Weeks went by. He started smiling sometimes. Started asking about Caleb. I'd mentioned my son once, and William remembered everything I said about him. Started staying later, not because he couldn't leave, but because he didn't want to. I should have been more careful. Should have kept that line clear between his world and mine. But loneliness makes you reckless, and I was so tired of being lonely. Then came the night that changed everything. I got to Sterling Tower at my usual time, but the security guard stopped me. "Ms. Thompson, Mr. Sterling's not in his office tonight. Said he was going to the roof. Observation deck." Something in my stomach dropped. I don't know how I knew, but I knew. I left my cart right there and ran for the elevators. 47 floors never felt so long. When those doors opened onto the roof deck, I saw him immediately. He was standing at the railing, and he wasn't just standing, he was leaning. Too far. Way too far. "William." I said it calm, but my heart was trying to break out of my chest. He didn't turn around. "You should go home, Nia. Go home to Caleb." "Not without you." I walked closer, slow. "Come away from the edge." "I can't do this anymore," he said, and his voice was so tired. "I thought I could, thought I was getting better, but it's all fake. I'm fake. Everything's fake except this feeling that I should have been the one who died." "That's not true." I was close enough now to touch him, but I didn't. Not yet. "You don't understand. Everyone thinks I'm this success story, this genius businessman. But I'm just a guy who chose profit margins over his brother's phone call. I'm just a guy who's so good at pretending that nobody saw I was drowning, too." "I see you," I said. "I've been seeing you for months now. And you know what I see? A man who's hurting so bad he can barely breathe. A man who lost someone he loved and doesn't know how to live in a world without them. But I also see a man who shows up, who's trying, who asks about my kid and remembers that he likes dinosaurs. You think that's nothing? William, that's everything." He turned then, and his face was wet with tears. "What if I can't be fixed?" "Then you can't. But you can be here. You can be alive. And some days that's enough." I held out my hand. "Come away from the edge, please." He looked at my hand for a long time, then he took it. And he stepped back. And we both sat down right there on that roof and we cried. Him for his brother, me for my cousin. Both of us for how hard it is to just keep living when everything hurts. I took him to Murphy's Diner after that, sat him in my section and made him eat eggs and bacon while I finished my shift. He looked out of place in his expensive suit surrounded by truckers and night shift nurses, but he ate every bite. We talked until the sun came up and I made him promise to call a therapist. Not for me, for himself. "I don't know how to do this," he admitted. "Nobody does," I said. "But you start. That's all. You just start." He started. Real therapy, not the kind where you pay someone to tell you you're fine, the kind where you do the work. And I watched him get better. Slowly. Some days he'd slip backward and I'd get scared, but he always caught himself. Always used the tools he was learning. We became friends. Real friends. He met Caleb by accident one Saturday when my babysitter cancelled and I had to bring him to my diner shift. William was there. He'd started coming by for breakfast on weekends, and he spent 2 hours teaching my son about coding on his phone. Watching them together, watching William laugh at Caleb's jokes, something in my chest went warm and terrifying. His world started noticing me, though. His mother came to the office one night, saw me leaving William's office with empty takeout containers. The look she gave me could have frozen fire. The questions she asked William about his new friend weren't really questions at all. Then the media got a photo of us having coffee. And suddenly I was mystery woman, and people had opinions about what a black cleaning lady was doing with William Sterling. I heard the comments at a charity event he convinced me to attend. Gold digger. Quota higher. Wondering how long before she gets pregnant. I left early, took the bus home in a dress I'd borrowed, and cried on my bathroom floor while Caleb slept. That's when I knew it wasn't just friendship anymore. You don't cry like that over a friend. You cry like that when your heart's involved and you know it's stupid and impossible and going to hurt. William felt it too. He showed up at my apartment and said the words that terrified me. "I'm falling in love with you, Nia. Actually, I think I already fell." "You can't," I said, even though my heart was screaming yes. "I can't be your savior, William. I can't be the reason you stay alive. That's too much weight for anybody to carry." "You're not," he said. "You're the reason I wanted to get better. There's a difference. You showed me I was worth saving, but I'm doing the saving. Me. Every day I'm choosing to be here, and I want to choose you too, if you'll let me." But I was scared. Scared of his world, of the gap between us, of what people would say, of how bad it would hurt when it fell apart. So I pulled away. Stopped bringing him food, stopped answering his texts. Put that wall back up between invisible me and visible him. He didn't chase me. That's what got me. He respected my space. But he also kept doing the work on himself. Kept going to therapy. Kept showing up to life. 3 months later, he walked into Murphy's Diner on a random Wednesday, sat in my section, ordered coffee. "I'm not here to pressure you," he said when I brought his cup. "I'm here to tell you I'm okay. I'm really okay, Nia. You were right. I had to save myself. And I did. I am. But I also need you to know that I love you. Not because you saved me, but because you're brilliant and strong, and you see the world in a way that makes me want to be better. I love how you love your son. I love your terrible jokes. I love that you don't let me get away with feeling sorry for myself. I'm not asking you to save me. I'm asking if you'll let me love you." I stood there holding that coffee pot, shaking, and I said yes. Because sometimes brave looks like letting someone in. Sometimes strong looks like admitting you don't want to do it all alone anymore. It hasn't been a fairy tale. Real love isn't. His family came around eventually, but it took time. My friends were skeptical until they saw how he treated me, like an equal, like a partner, like someone whose dreams mattered as much as his. He helped me go back to school, but I paid my own tuition with money I earned. Started my own business consulting company last year. We're building something real, where both of us are standing on solid ground. Caleb's 9 now. He calls William Will, and they still code together on Saturdays. William's in therapy still and probably always will be, and that's okay. Some pains don't heal, they just become part of your story. People ask me all the time what it's like to date a billionaire. But that's not the story. The story is two people who are drowning in different oceans finding each other and deciding to swim toward shore together. The story is choosing to be seen, choosing to be real, choosing to pull someone back from the edge and letting them pull you forward into something bigger than both of you. So that's my story, the billionaire and the cleaning lady. Sounds like a fairy tale, right? But the real magic wasn't in the money or the romance. It was in two broken people choosing to be brave enough to be real with each other. If this story touched you, hit that like button. Drop a comment telling me about a time someone saw you when you felt invisible. And subscribe, because I've got more real stories coming your way. Remember, everybody's got deep waters inside them. Sometimes the bravest thing you can do is let someone throw you a lifeline and throw one back. I'm Nia, and I'll see you in the next one.